gentlemen, the following presentation is brought to you by Mr. Main Event Brian Waters and the real Dwayne Allen. The Wrestling Realm, the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Off the top rope, I dwell in the wrestling realm. Like Jake stay in the snake pit and Kane be in hell. Like Jake stay in the graveyard, I'm punk in the shy. Call me Snooker cause I'm super and fly. You can hate all you want, but I'm flossing. The Miz said I'm awesome, and I'm upholding the law just like the big boss man. With Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the real Dwayne Allen, toss you over the border like Hernandez, Mandez, pressing the stands. It's the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Hitman like Hawk, but I'm not from Calgary. I'm all about the bill, so let that gold shower me, empower me like Farouk and the nation. If you don't know your history, then you should change the station. But if you do, you can cruise to YouTube / the wrestling realm. Your lessons are stale. Say the same old lines, man, you destined to fail. Like the Shockmaster or the wrestler Nails. I'm a heartbreak kid, and my bid to be champion is unmatched. Anybody step, I'm face planting them. With Mr. Main Event and the real Dwayne, you the sisters of love, we the powers of pain. You see we coming with a spear while you're monkey flipping. It's Brian Waters, Dwayne Allen, and your boy Trenton. And that's just how the story goes. That's just how the story goes. It's the wrestling realm, baby. The wrestling realm. Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the real Dwayne Allen. And I'm your boy Trent CMG. You know what it is, baby. Let's go.
Of the wrestling realm, I am the one, the only Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, and I'm joined by the remarkable, the impeccable, the real Dwayne Allen. There's only one.
The realness.
The real one. So,
The real. That's good stuff. This is why you're good at what you do.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the WWE recently just released a top 25 list of the top 25 greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time. So, if you'll allow me, I'll go ahead and briefly run through that list before we sit down and dissect it. Number 25, we have Rey Mysterio. Number 24, we had Cody Rhodes. Number 23, we had his brother, Goldust. Number 22, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. 21, Jeff Hardy. 20, Greg the Hammer Valentine. 19, The Rock. 18, Tino Santana. 17, Jeff Jarrett. 16, Stone Cold Steve Austin. 15, Rob Van Dam. 14, the Rated R Superstar, before he was Rated R, Edge. 13, The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. 12, Triple H. 11, Rick Rude. 10, Randy Orton. 9, Pedro Morales, the first two-time Intercontinental Champion, might I add. 8, Bret the Hitman Hart. 7, Razor Ramon. 6, the Honky Tonk Man. 5, the first Intercontinental Champion, Pat Patterson. 4, Mr. Perfect. 3, the Ultimate Warrior. 2, Chris Jericho. And the number one greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, may he rest in peace, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. So, Mr. Real Dwayne Allen.
Yes, sir.
When you look at this list, what do you think?
I think they've collected a really good body of past and somewhat present WWE superstars that really represented the Intercontinental title and what that title actually meant. Mm-hmm. Of course, the list is always debatable, which we're going to really about to get into in just a second. But it's actually a decent list. I mean, there's I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that should be on the list that was left off. Maybe okay. You have, or maybe you can think of some. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a pretty good list. Now, where they're all placed is always debatable. Mm-hmm. But I think they've collected a nice body of work here with all these guys on this list. So,
when I look at this list, it's like I said. I mean, there have been so many great Intercontinental Champions.
Right.
Kurt Angle's not on this list. He was a good Intercontinental Champion.
That's one I missed.
You know, you think about when he was the IC champion, mm-hmm. he made it cool. You know, that's why he wanted to be the You're a Continental Champion.
That was quite funny.
I mean, obviously a man that, well, we don't work for the WWE, so we're going to say his name, Chris Benoit. The obvious reasons why he's not on the list. You look at a guy, I'm going to say one, and I know you're not going to agree, but when I break it down, you just might.
Don't say like Jack Swagger or somebody.
Jack Swagger was Intercontinental Champion?
I don't know. I was wondering.
No, I wouldn't. I know Charlie Speed from Podcast of Pain would probably.
Charlie Speed
he would probably cut
hates Jack Swagger. He would cut this off in a second. I can't watch this.
Mm-hmm. And then tell us that he makes him want to hurt animals as much as he love animals.
Yeah.
I would say a guy by the name of John Morrison.
And I thought about that. I actually did think about that. And
you think about when he was the Intercontinental Champion, he represented what this title usually meant, and that was that you would go to the next level.
Right.
And like I said, I said that I felt that he had that it factor. You know, and I know you're not the biggest fan of his.
Right.
But I always thought that he had that it factor, and he brought prestige to this title, and I thought that he was going to take it to the next level. Well, unfortunately, he did. So that's the way I look at this list. But then I look at it, and I'm like, well, who would I replace him with? You know?
And that's the thing. Like I said, when you look at from a box perspective, I was not a huge John Morrison fan, but not because of what he did in the ring. I thought he was very athletic and he did very well in the ring, but at one point his moves seemed to be more flashy than impactful, and I never liked his look. I don't think nobody can take you seriously when you have like the bedazzled bell bottoms and stuff like that, and even with his leather pants and you come out and you're the shaman of sex. I don't think that gimmick. A lot of people. I think if he changed his look like the Miz did when the Miz came out as like the Canadian kid with the mask at one point, he got that contract. I think it was between him and Eugene. He had a match. Right. That was the first time I remember seeing the Miz was a changed look. He started wearing the capris and the chick magnet shirts and the hats and the Under Armour sleeves. And he had regular trunks, kick pads, and a regular. And I think that catapulted his career. I felt like John Morrison could have did the same thing, but I think from what I hear he didn't listen to a lot of suggestions. Okay. But him being on this list, you can.
Just looking at these names, you know, who do you take off?
I mean, you can't. And I guess when it comes down to the top 25, you could replace him with a guy like Cody Rhodes, but I can understand why. And I will only say replace him only because he's more recent. He's on this second time, but I understand why Cody's on this list. Most people may not agree with it, like, or maybe too early, or maybe he shouldn't be on this list with these guys. But I understand why they put him on the list, because if you look at the dynamic of the list, these guys made the title important. It's not that, okay, I had the belt and I was a good champion. Right. And I feel the way about John Morrison. I feel like, okay, he's a workhorse. All right, he deserves his title. But when he got the title, that was it. Yeah. He didn't turn it to anything else. And I feel bad for guys like a Dolph Ziggler and maybe even a Kofi Kingston, who guys were workhorses, but they didn't really bring attention to the title to make it that much important. You saw Ziggler do something similar with the United States Championship. But then after a while, he went away from that. That whole, hey, this is what's important, despite that. But like I said, bias aside, I think Morrison, was a good. But I guess we say top 25. There's nobody I can't think of to replace him on this list. I mean, unless if you want to put him on the list, you have to put Kurt Angle on the list.
Yeah, and certainly with a guy like Kurt Angle, it would be obviously easier to replace him. Replace somebody else, but. When you said bring importance to the title, I'm not convinced, even if it's just by one, that Triple H put more importance to the Intercontinental Championship than, say, a Shawn Michaels or even a Jeff Hardy. Now, I understand we've been, you could almost say brainwashed with Triple H's world title runs and his new WWE Championship runs. That it's kind of like his Intercontinental Championships when he was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, because that's really the ones that was important. Because when he was the Intercontinental Champion as the leader of DX, he was champion. He won the belt, and then he was out. If I'm not mistaken, he was injured right away, and he was therefore stripped.
He was not there because I remember always watching The Rock getting the best of him. I think when he won the ladder match at SummerSlam '98 was one of the few times I feel like he finally won. He was always a European champion. Yeah. He didn't have that IC title for long. And like you said, by the time he got it, he was on his way out. You know what I'm saying? And then he had that brief stint with him and Austin where the tag team, and Triple H was the IC, which I feel was not important at all.
Right.
Only because I just didn't like Triple H at the time, not because of the title itself. But
he didn't need it. You know, I mean, clearly.
No, that was just like a mega power type thing.
2-man power trip, you know. Which, to me, they had so much momentum, and that's right where they kind of label it as right as post-Attitude Era.
Yeah.
They had so much momentum that year, and then they just dropped off when they gave them all the belts. Right. Essentially, all of the top 3 belts, the tag team. It was just like, okay, so where do we go from here?
And like I said, it wasn't too long after that Triple H got injured. He came back and, you know, was more of a main event, same kind of guy.
You know, and I really think RVD was a much better Intercontinental Champion. E-Rock said, the most over person during the entire invasion.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, RVD was that guy, because he had, when you look at RVD and his body of work, he had experience, and that was a smart move. Like, I think about it now, it's like, well, as I'm thinking about it, think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. RVD was that guy in ECW that made that TV title this second world title. That title was always prestigious in ECW because the guys who they had the belt were regular guys. Like it wasn't built in ECW with the television title. Like, okay, well, you have it, and then the next guy up. You know, you're the next guy in line for the world title. No, a lot of times the TV title were former world champions, Shane Douglas and Taz, and then you had a guy like RVD, where you don't look at the TV title as a mid-card title, because, you know, you had guys like Shane Douglas and Taz who had the title and made it important because these guys are former ECW world champions. So then when he got it, and he had it for so long, that was like a second world title. Right. And, okay, so here he is in the WWE now, and you put your, you know, second world title, was supposed to be, on a guy like RVD, and he carries that same flavor, that same stigma, that same reputation for making a mid-card title seem like a second world title. Like, you look forward to the top of the mid-card to see RVD do his thing. Yeah. So I guess in that response, I would say he was a better, because I feel like that was probably the best run he had in WWE was his IC title runs. Yeah. Even when he came back from injury, and you know, he won Money in the Bank, you know what I mean, stuff like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following presentation is brought to you by Mr. Main Event Brian Waters and the real Dwayne Alley. The Wrestling Realm, the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Off the top rope, I dwell in the wrestling realm. Like Jake stay in the snake pit and Kane be in hell. Like Taker stay in the graveyard.